And thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. A little Indy Style after Indy Style. We are with Justin Vining, artist. Artie, we asked you during the show, we're going to ask you again. How do you know when you're done?
That's a really good question. Sometimes it just feels right. I don't know. There is sort of a process that I build every painting with. So once I kind of go through that process, I should have something that looks like what I'm seeing. But there are always minor tweaks. Should I pull that out more? Should I push that back more? Should I put more detail over there? I mean, there's an infinite amount of questions that become very difficult to answer, and I believe that's where practice and experience comes into play.
I bet. I asked you earlier about the personal take. I love talking about this because so many people who come to you, they love these pictures, but they also want something that maybe is a little more personal, a little more memorable.
Totally.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I paint all over the city, and I've painted hundreds of paintings, and I really just choose the location at random. And I think what has been one of the most interesting things that has happened that was really unexpected for me is a lot of these places I personally don't necessarily have any type of deep or emotional connection to. I just was like, oh, that looks pretty, I'll go paint that. But what's been really cool is seeing people come into my shows, and all of a sudden, they have very specific experiences and deep connections to these places. So all of a sudden, these works take on a whole new meaning that I never ever could have expected.
And then it's capturing a memory too, right? You've done people's houses before.
Totally. So that's
the relationships.
Yep. So that's one of my bread and butters is custom house portraits. And one that I did this past fall is they met as neighbors. And so I did two paintings, the houses that they did as neighbors, and then I did their painting that they bought.
That's awesome.
That they bought together.
Now we know we stopped your process.
That's okay.
I'm not quite done yet, but we're all big fans. I think most everyone is a big fan of Bob Ross and his happy little trees and things like that. So if you don't mind even being rudimentary about some of the tools you use for different impact.
Totally. So in a painting this size, I've been using 3 different brushes, and so I use sort of a smaller detail. This is kind of what I do all the details with, and then this is kind of a medium-sized brush. And then a lot of the sky and the sidewalk and a bigger impact brush. So one of the things that can really kill a painting is using one tool the whole time. And so one thing that happens in these paintings is, a lot of these marks that you start to see, you're like, well, how exactly did they do that? And so then I also sometimes I'll bring in a palette knife where you can start to scratch in really fine detail. And so you can really start to get, the palette knife, and then you can also, if I wanted to get hard lines, right here, you can put that paint on there, and all of a sudden you have different marks that's happening. So the palette knife is really cool. And then another tool that I think would be unexpected is I carry a scribe. So this is it has a metal ball at the end of that, and this is actually what I sign my paintings with.
Oh, okay.
So I sign it when the painting's wet.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So different. There's actually rules of scale for the tools, and not just for the canvas.
Yeah, and then as far as just sort of the setup, this is my easel that I go outside on location, and I built and designed this so I could put everything in my backpack. And so one of the easiest excuses for a painter that when they go outside is just it's just too much stuff to lug around. Yeah. And what I've done is I've tried to remove that excuse from happening. And so now, even today, I didn't have to do anything to prepare for the episode. I literally just grabbed my backpack, and I knew everything was in there, and I was ready to go.
No excuses.
Can you show the picture of what you were going for? So, if someone
said,
so here's what I want.
So, this? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So this is the photo I took this morning on the Circle. I just drove down there, and you can see it's extremely different than even how the painting ended up. And I think one of the biggest changes I made, there's kind of a couple, is I want the monument to stick out. So I removed almost all the detail over here, and I made it darker value to push this forward. But then the other thing I really did is this is just such an iconic scene in Indianapolis when you can see the state capitol building down there. So I put it, like 100 feet to the north, so you can actually see.
That's what you can do when you're doing your own paintings, right?
City County might have something to say about that. Moving 100 feet. There's nothing wrong with a little architectural license with an artistic license, right?
Totally.
I think that's
But there's so many. This has a lot of, I'd say, straight lines for you, as I tend to see a lot of you do bridges and work. Do you sometimes, when you're setting up your easel to paint, you're like, well, no, that looks a little too of one particular type of thing, not much of a challenge or not much interpretation, so you just maybe move 5 degrees?
Oh, totally. And sometimes I'll get 30 minutes into a painting and completely wipe it out, and then and then turn it, and then start again. So.
Well, I asked Justin before on Indy Style how you don't get so attached. I know you've done so many of these, but there has to be a particular one to where you're like, I'm good. Like, this is amazing. This is amazing. I kind of want to keep this for myself.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So, well, one of the things that, I might be a little bit, I know other artists think this way too, but there really is, my collectors and the people who buy my work are who support my living, and I think it's a little bit selfish to keep my best work, and so I want to make sure I'm putting my best work into the people who want it most. And on the other flip side of that, I do keep some of my work, but a lot of times it's when it has maybe deeper meaning to me, like on my travels.
Sure.
So our living room.
Mom and Dad, right?
Or yeah, sometimes I give it to Mom and Dad, or sometimes like there's a couple paintings in our houses that I've painted, and once they've made it through several shows and they've been in front of thousands of people, I'm like, hey, okay, people have an opportunity to buy, now this is coming into my house.
Okay. Well, so you trust, it's like children. You created these things and you trust the caretakers that now have them.
Totally.
And there's an opportunity for more caretakers. Let's talk about this show. You get to interact with you, right?
Yeah, so it's Friday night, and I will have around 100 paintings on display from the last 12 months. I think there's only one painting older than that in the show, but it'll be a really fun night. It's at the Harrison Center, so I'm not the only thing going on in that building. There's, I think, 35 of us art studios. All the doors will be open. There's 4 other art galleries in our space that all have different shows. So if you come to the Harrison Center, you could obviously see me, but there's a ton of other stuff to see while you're in there as well.
Awesome. We'll make sure to put all the information for that on IndyStyle.tv, plus his social media. Follow him. It can really alter your mood. Just taking a look at something he's doing with his plein air art. Justin Vining, thank you so much for the insight, sharing your art.
Thanks for watching.